Hi guys, you're welcome back to yet another tutorial video. If you're new here, you're most welcome. My name is Chichi for short, and if you're a returning subscriber, thanks for always coming back. I love you. So today guys, today's tutorial, it's all about the pattern drafting or the cutting of a pieces blouse that ends up looking like a peplum if you don't shine your eye properly. So guys, jokes apart, I'm going to be showing us all the nitty-gritties that is involved in the pattern drafting of a pieces blouse. If this tutorial is the one you're interested in, then sit right back, relax and enjoy. And if you are still watching up to this moment and you haven't subscribed, please click on the red subscribe button below. Do not forget to put up your post notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. And I'm sure you're going to love this video, so just go ahead and give it a huge thumbs up.
I have this pattern paper that I'll be folding into two to place on fold, and then I check out the length to make sure that I have enough length. So this length is sufficient enough, even though it is shorter by half an inch, but I'm okay with that. So the next thing is to divide the breast distance by 2 plus half an inch, and then I mark it all the way from the top to the bottom. So here I have the breast distance divided by 2 plus half an inch, and then I join with a straight line just like this. So here I have my breast distance, and then I'll be inserting all the vertical measurements all the way from up top to down. So I have here the armhole, the breast point, the under bust, the half waist measurement, and then I have the same thing marked at the other side of the pattern paper as well, just to have a straight line on both sides. So I have here the lines representing all the vertical points from the armhole all the way to the blouse length. And then I also have all the vertical points written out. So I have here the armhole, the breast point, the under bust, the half waist, and then the blouse length. So next I'll be inserting the shoulder measurement divided by 2 plus 1 inch. So the shoulder here is 15 divided by 2 plus 1. So I have the shoulder line marked out, and then I carve out the armhole area. So I have here the shoulder and the armhole marked out. And having done that, I come down to the under bust, and between the breast distance line I mark 1/4 of an inch, making a total of 2.5 at the under bust, and at the half waist I mark 1 inch between the breast distance line. Then coming to the breast point, I mark 1 inch above the breast point and 1 inch below the breast point. This is going to help us have a perfect curve at the breast point, so that the breast point is not looking pointed by the time we are done. So I'm going to be joining the point all the way from the under bust to the blouse length, and this is what the joining from the under bust to the blouse length looks like. And then coming over to the upper part, I have it joined to the breast points, just as you can see. And coming over to the armhole area, I'm going to be marking 5 inches all the way down. So I have 5 inches from the shoulder down this way, and I'll be joining that point to the breast point just like this. That is the 1 inch above the breast point, not exactly at the breast point. And then I'll be extending this other line by 2 inches. Can you see that? I'll be extending it by 2 inches, and then I mark another armhole curve. So as you can see now, I'm going to be having 2 armhole curves just like this. So at this point I have 2 armhole curves, and next I'll be inserting the horizontal measurements, and that will be gotten by dividing the body circumference measurement by 4 plus 3 inches seam allowance. So I have the bust divided by 4 plus 3 inches seam allowance. And then coming over to the under bust, I will not be using the under bust round measurements. Instead, whatever I have at the bust measurement, I add 1/4 of an inch to it, and also at the waist measurement, whatever I have at the under bust, I add another 1/4 to each. So as I come down, I add 1/4 as I go down. Then coming to the blouse length, because this is a pieces blouse, and so at the lower part we are going to be having it wide at the lower part. So the hip measurement I divide by 4 and add an extra 6 to 7 inches depending on how wide I want the lower part to be. So if you want it to be reasonably wide at the lower part, 6 to 7 inches it's enough to add to this width. And at this edge I'll come up by 1 inch or 1.5 inch, but I use 1.5 in this case, and then I curve it inward just like this, and then I'll be joining the sides together. And here is what the side shaping looks like. So I'll be joining all the points from the armhole area all the way to the blouse length, and this is what we have. And then coming over to the neckline area, the neckline width is 2.5 inches. This is because it's a turtleneck and a depth of 3 inches. So here is the neckline curve, after which I proceed to marking out the shoulder slant. So here I have the shoulder slant of 3/4 of an inch. So here we have the shoulder slant, and next I'll be cutting out the lower part and the sides of the pattern just like this. So for the armhole area, I'm not going to be cutting the first armhole, I'm going to be cutting along the second armhole. So the main armhole here is the second one, so you cut along like this, and then you turn over, cut through this point like this, and stop at this point. Can you see what I'm doing? You keep turning as you go, and then you cut just like this. Please master this art very well, because you need to know exactly where to cut and where not to cut. So we have the front pattern ready, even though we've not cut out the bustier area or the dart area out, so we still have that intact. Then we'll take it and place it over the back pattern just like this, and then cut out. I always use the front pattern to cut the back just to save a whole lot of time. So I cut along just what I have at the front pattern before I proceed to cutting further the back, but the basic body pattern for the back I use the front to cut it out. And then I come to the neckline area. Remember I said it's a turtleneck, so I used 1.5 inch depth and then 2.5 inches for the width, and then I mark out the shoulder slant as well, and then set that aside and come back to the front pattern so that I can complete the cutting that I stopped halfway. So at this point I'm going to make sure I have a curve, a perfect curve, and then I cut along. Can you see all the points? I'm cutting along this way. Do you see what I have? So I cut along just like this, and then I have the front. Remember, this is a pieces blouse, so from this point I'm going to be showing you what to do to achieve your pieces blouse perfectly. You see this point from the half waist to the blouse length, so you measure what you have from the half waist to the blouse length. So in this case I have 8.25 inch, let's say 8 inches. So I'm going to be cutting out the cone shape that I need to give me the pieces effect that I want. So I'm going to be folding another pattern paper just like this. This width is too much, so I'm going to be reducing it to give me at least a minimal flared at the end of the day. Remember, the length gave us 8 inches from the half waist to the blouse length. So for the cone I'm going to be marking 8 inches length, so I have 8 inches marked out, and then I cut out my cone just like this. So here I have my cone. So this is what I have that is going to help me achieve my pieces effect for the blouse. So for this cone, if you want it excessively full, you can increase the width of your cone, but if you want it minimal, you can use about 7 to 8 inches for the lower part of your cone when placed on foot. So by the time you open it up, you're having about 14 to 16 inches. But like I said, if you want it wider, it's your choice. You can do whatever you want as far as the fullness of your pieces blouse is concerned. So I'm going to be cutting as many as I need to go around all the parts that I need it for on this blouse. So I cut as many as I will be needing. This is what I have, and I'm going to be showing you how to place them on your pattern. So for the center piece of my pattern, I open it up this way. I get one of my cones, and then I open it up. I open up the cone, and then I place it on the side of the center piece like this. I'm going to be holding it down. So I hold it down like this. I do the same thing to the second side of the center piece, and you can see what I have. You can see how wide the lower part is already looking. So I'm going to be doing this to every other part of the pattern so that we can see the effect that is going to give us at the end of the day. Let me point this out. I'm not going to be using the full cone for all the parts of the pattern. For some parts, I'm going to be dividing it into two. This part is a little bit wide on its own, so I'm going to be sharing one cone into two for the two sides of this side of the pattern. Okay, and as you can see, I have a bulge here, so I'm going to be trimming that out so that I can have a perfect curve at the lower part of my pattern. So at this point, I have one side of the front and the center piece ready. So I have the pieces ready, and putting it together, you can see this is what it's going to be looking. This is how full it's going to be looking, and I'm going to be doing the same thing to the other side of the front. Afterwards, I can now proceed to the back part of the pattern. And for the back pattern, I have some of the parts already marked out, like the zip allowance, the neckline area, the shoulder slant, the half waist. So at the half waist, I'm going to be marking out the darts for the back. and I have that marked all the way to the upper part of the pattern. And at the armhole area, I'm going to be coming down by 6 inches, and then I'm going to be forming another princess dart, and then I come to the half waist area. I mark half an inch on both sides of the dart line to give me the back dart, and then I connect just like this. And next, I connect this point at the armhole to the dart line to give me the princess dart at the back. So here is the princess dart, and I'm going to be connecting the princess dart to the straight dart just like this. And then at the zipper allowance area, I'm going to be coming in by half an inch. This is to reduce the bulge at the back. So this is going to take care of the bulge at the back. So I come in by half an inch and I curve it downwards and upwards just like this. And I cut that out and proceed to cutting out the neckline, the shoulder slant, and then I cut along the princess dart just like this. And here we have the back pattern also ready. So we're going to be proceeding to attaching the cones to the sides of the back. Remember, like I said, it depends on how wide you want it to be. So if you want to put half of the cone all the way around all the parts of your pattern or your fabric, then it is fine. And if you also want to use the full cone all the way around every part of your pattern, then it is also fine. You can just use your discretion to get exactly what you want. Please remember that for the back, you have both the center part in 2 and also the side part pattern in 2, okay? So let's attach the cones to the back pattern just like we did to the front, depending on how full you want it to be. Afterwards, your patterns are ready to be used for your fabric. Please note that the essence of joining the cones to the pattern and not the fabric is to avoid the fabric itself having so many joinings going on all around the fabric itself. So all this joining that we're having on the pattern, it's going to make the main fabric, have minimal joining at the end of the day. So at this point, our patterns are ready to be used on our fabric for cutouts. Thank you guys for watching. God bless you. See you in my next video, which is going to be for the sewing of the pieces blouse proper. Bye.